Hello, welcome, and thanks for joining us to help choose home when care is needed, a podcast all about the benefits, value, and safety of receiving care and services in the one place that feels most comfortable, wherever it is that the person needing care calls home. I'm your host, Marilee Orsini, and I have been involved in healthcare at home since 1981. Before we meet today's guests, a brief thank you to our sponsors and partners, the National Association for Home Care and Hospice, Access, and Core Cubed. Today's episode is number 10 of Season 3. Our guest today is Cheryl Hammons, Strategic Partnership Director of Veterans Care Coordination. Please help me, won't you, and welcome Cheryl Hammons to Help Choose Home. Cheryl, thank you so very much for being my guest today. And let's start off the conversation with some information about Veterans Care Coordination.
Thank you for inviting me to be on this. I'm thrilled to talk about it because it is one of those benefits that unfortunately about 3% of veterans even know about. And this was a benefit it's a special benefit that was started by the Department of Veterans Affairs, and it is called a pension with aid and attendance. And it is meant to be for wartime veterans who are low to moderate income, who need assistance at home and can't afford it. And so what we do at Veterans Care Coordination is we partner with home care agencies across the United States to get the word out for these veterans. I know for myself, my dad is 91. And he is a veteran, but he doesn't think of himself necessarily, like he says, a quote-unquote real veteran, because he didn't retire from the military. But yet he would be eligible for this benefit if he had been in the military during wartime. And unfortunately, he's right in the middle, so he would not benefit from it. But as long as they were in the military for at least 90 days and at least one day during a war period, then they could be eligible for this benefit. And what we do is we help them through this very difficult, cumbersome at times process to see if they're eligible. And if they are, then they're connected with a home care agency that we then help manage that home care so that they can benefit from this special benefit for a lifetime. It is a lifetime benefit. So that's our mission. Our mission is to improve the lives of veterans, obviously, and their surviving spouses. Let's not forget that, because this also is eligible to the surviving spouses. And it helps them, we help them obtain that pension with aid and attendance benefit, and we manage the home care that allows them to live independently, and it is a lifetime benefit.
Okay, I'm going to back up just a little bit. How does one know what the war dates where they would be eligible? How does one know that?
Well, actually, it is World War II. It's the Vietnam era, the Korean conflict, and then the Gulf War, which has not officially ended yet. So if they serve at least one day during those war periods, then they could be eligible for this benefit.
And is it age related?
It is. It's for 65 and older, and they have to have a non-service related medical condition, such as, heart condition, Alzheimer's, stroke, Parkinson's, those kind of things.
So the traditional chronic diseases that affect the elderly is basically what we're talking about.
That's correct. And should they need assistance beyond what, they can do for themselves, then home care is a very viable option for them. And it allows them to stay in the home that they feel most comfortable in, and it gives them a level of independence.
So I'm going to just sort of walk through a scenario. So I have a neighbor who I know was in the Vietnam War. And he literally just had a heart attack, oddly enough, but within the last week. He's okay, but nothing's going to get him down. So if he needed care because he couldn't fix his meals or take care of his house or whatever. Is that the kind of care we're talking about?
That's correct. That's correct.
And because he's a veteran, I know that he would be eligible. What about, and you said spouses are eligible, what about current spouses and ex-spouses?
Well, it is for surviving spouses, and they have to have been married to the veteran at the time of their death, and they are not remarried at a point where they would not be eligible.
Okay. But if the veteran is currently married, then his current spouse would also be eligible.
That's correct. And also dependent children could be also eligible as well. So there's the veteran can get benefit from this. It can be a couple. So if they're both veterans, or if the surviving spouse and a dependent.
That is a pretty amazing benefit. And you said it's a lifetime benefit.
It is, as long as it's managed properly. And that's what we do on the other side. There's a lot of people that can help you through that process. But once you are approved, it's the other side that can get really difficult of making sure that you stay within the parameters. We work with the home care agencies on a monthly basis, as well as the veteran. We talk to them to make sure they're getting the care that they need, but they're also maintaining that eligibility. And I'll give you a good example of that. So say Mr. Smith has a car that sits in his driveway and he just isn't able to drive any longer. So he sells the car to his grandson, and the grandson pays him, $5,000, we'll say, and it goes into his bank account. If that is not managed properly, it could show as, an income and make him at risk of losing the benefit. So we help them manage that properly so that they can keep the benefit.
And the benefit, is there a cap on the benefit annually for home care services?
There is. Now, what this is it's a benefit for predictable medical expenses. And so it mainly includes, for our purposes, it mainly includes home care. But then if, you have some underutilized funds, then you can use it for other predictable medical expenses. But yes, it is capped, and for a couple, it would be around $27,195 for the year.
That is a very generous benefit.
Mm-hmm. And for a veteran, just a single veteran, is $22,939. So it is not a small thing. I just sat down with a lady on Saturday whose husband was a World War II veteran, and she is a widow, and she needs help. Now, she has her children that come and help her, but, it's starting to take a toll on the family. And so I talked to them about it. She's a perfect candidate. Your assets need to be below $129,000. Hers was. Her income to medical expense ratio has to be, equal or greater than your income. Hers was. So she's a perfect candidate for that. What this is going to do is it's going to allow her to have some independence from her children, who are coming over and doing everything for her. And she's going to be able to have a caregiver come in, give her family a break, but also give her a sense of independence too.
Now, this sounds like a pretty complicated program. So, how does someone start that process? Would they start with a call to you? How does it start?
They certainly can call us. If they're already associated with a home care agency, they can ask the home care agency to get in contact with us. If we're already contracted with them, perfect, we can move forward, or we can talk to them about contracting with us. They can they can look us up on the internet at vcchc.com, or they can call us at 855-380-4400.
And so you would take their call, and then you would start screening them for the eligibility process first? Is that the first step?
Yes, they go through a pre-screening process, and we just ask simple questions to see if they're eligible. And then once we go through that and say we feel that they're a good fit, they meet the criteria, then they would move forward. And once they start the application process, we have over 30 years experience in doing this collectively, and they are able to get through this process in really record time in comparison to, if they went direct to, say, the VA. And what tends to be a little bit of a catch-22 is a lot of times in order to qualify, you have to have already started that home care. And if you're low to moderate income, you more than likely don't have the means to go ahead and start that home care while the application process is being done. So we have what we call a Care Advance loan. It is an interest-free loan that you can apply for. And if you're able to do the loan, then that will pay for your home care as we're going through the process. And then once the application is approved, monies are paid retroactive back to the date of the application. And so then the loan can be satisfied. And this helps many, many veterans be able to get this benefit. Probably about 80% of our clients take advantage of this loan because it does help them. Because if you don't have that income to medical expense ratio intact, you'll get denied.
Right. That's an interesting catch-22, as you said, very appropriately.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And it sounds to me as if though you are screening people, so you're making certain that you're not having people take a loan and start services when they might not be eligible.
Absolutely. Our success rate of application to approval is about 99%. And you say, okay, what about that 1%? The 1% is usually when they're asked about their income or their assets, they don't tell us everything. And you know what, the government will find it if you have it. So that's basically the majority of those that don't qualify once we've sent it in is usually they have too many assets or their income is too high.
And I'm going to ask one other detailed question. I'm sorry for that. But when we're talking about assets, what's included in your list of assets?
Your assets are anything except they do exclude one home and one car. So, in a funny way to look at this, you can live in a $5 million house and not have any other assets beyond that and have a low income and still be eligible.
So you could live in a $5 million house, drive a Ferrari.
Yeah, exactly.
And have enough assets just enough to fit under.
That's right. And I do want to point out, we are not part of the Department of Veterans Affairs. We are a private company, but we do have a lot of our staff have good relationships with all of the key points that this application has to go through. We have both English and Spanish speaking employees that can help that process along. And then the most important part is to help them beyond that approval of keeping that benefit.
Now, I'm going to go out on a limb here because I suspect that when this first started, there had to be a story that started this whole business.
It did.
Do you know that story? Because there has to be one.
There is. Our founder, Kyle Laramie, and our CEO, he had a grandfather that needed care, but they didn't know about the benefit. And so he wasn't able to take advantage of that before he passed away. And Kyle worked in a facility as a therapist and recognized that he could help others get this benefit so that they could experience it unlike his grandfather did. And so he started a Veterans Care Coordination as a result.
Wow. So because his grandfather couldn't benefit, but now he's having everyone else's grandfather benefit.
Right. And we have served over 14,000 veterans in the time period that we've been around.
Wow, that is absolutely amazing. And do you have any stories of people that you've worked with whose lives have really been changed by being able to stay at home with care?
Well, we are so blessed to get letters almost monthly from family members telling us, what a difference things, have been since they've come on board with Veterans Care Coordination and the home care agencies. I mean, we're truly partners with them. So it does take a village to do this. But we've had one particular one that I know that really speaks to what we do is we had a client that was with us for, about about 3 years, and we managed this benefit for him. But unfortunately, occasionally there is a point where the person is no longer able to stay in their home, and he went into a facility. And at that point, we don't manage it any longer. The facility does. And shortly after that, the client was audited for the benefit, and there is a random audit for everyone. And when he was audited, the facility did not have all the documentation they needed to satisfy that audit. And the family called us in a panic because they were not only going to possibly lose the benefit, but the benefit may have to have been refunded by the family. And we had everything that they needed to be able to satisfy the audit up to the point that they went to the facility, and the facility then was able to pull some things together, and the family was able to move forward. And that is probably one of the biggest impacts I've seen on helping someone not only keep the benefit, but not have to pay such a large amount back because it wasn't managed properly.
That is so scary to me, to think that we all go into situations with good faith, and that would have been a terrible outcome. So congratulations.
Well, thank you. I really do think that's a plus. Many of the veterans, and I speak a lot of times on different things about veterans, but they really not only sacrificed their careers or whatever to go into the military, they sacrificed family time, because a lot of times they're so far away from their family for so long, and to be with their family at this point in their life is really a gift. And so I feel like us partnering with our home care partners, that we're not only giving them a gift of independence, but we're giving them the gift of their family, because their family can stay intact with, a son can still be a son, a daughter can still be a daughter, and they don't have to worry about the caregiving piece of it. And I think that's a true gift.
That is definitely a true gift. And for those Americans who did serve during wartime, we owe them so much. So it's wonderful to be able to help them stay in a place that is comfortable, a place that wherever it is they call home. So
that's right.
Cheryl, is there anything that I did not ask you today that you thought I was going to, or anything that you would like to share with our consumer audience?
Well, I don't know that people really grasp the vastness of our veteran population. We think about it. I know I had prior to coming on board with Veterans Care Coordination, but I don't think people realize. So I wanted to kind of share a couple things with you that I think is really important, is that nearly 20% of all seniors over the age of 65 are veterans. And that doesn't include surviving spouses. So, if you know someone who is a veteran, certainly ask their story. They love to tell their story. We have a Veteran of the Month that we focus on every month in our newsletter, and it's so amazing to hear their stories. But a lot of times, like I said, with my father, they don't think of themselves necessarily as a veteran. So you have to ask sometimes, did you serve in the military, or did your spouse serve in the military? And if they did, share this benefit with them. You don't have to know a whole lot about it. You can call us. You can call your home care agency that you're connected with and learn about it, because like I said, only about 3% actually get it. And it's something that's still like a best kept secret, and I don't know how, but it really is. And one of the things that I've learned over time is the veterans, they tend to be very humble people. They don't necessarily talk a lot about it, but they do carry a lot of memories of their military time. This is Suicide Prevention Month, and unfortunately 20 veterans take their life every day. And so we need to be sensitive to their experiences and their history, and recognize that they may need some extra help at home. And it doesn't say that they're weak or unable to take care of themselves. It's just that sometimes you need that extra hand or that extra companion to help you through some things. Even with COVID, it's bringing up some memories, even with my parents who weren't in the depression, but they were certainly products of the depression. And this is a very scary time for them. So reaching out to people who you know are surviving spouses or veterans and share with them that there may be an opportunity for them to stay in their home and get this benefit.
Well, it is certainly something that I hope we are educating about every day. And I really thank you so much for your time today. And I thank you for the work time that you give to our veterans and the help that you do give to them to stay home. So,
well, thank you. And it certainly is my privilege to remotely serve our veterans. I don't get to take care of them, but I do feel that I'm a part of that. And I am extremely a patriotic person. So it makes me very happy that I get to do this every day. And I thank you for doing this podcast to bring home care awareness as we've gone through this COVID and still continue to go through it. We know home is the best place to be. And so I really appreciate what you're doing.
Well, thank you very much. And you stay safe out there, okay?
You too.
Thank you so much for listening today. And a special thanks to our sponsors and partners, National Association for Home Care and Hospice, Access, and Core Cubed. If you've not done so already, please subscribe to our podcast and take the time to leave a review on Apple Podcast. We are now also on Spotify and most other places where you find podcasts. Like and follow us on social media and join us, won't you, to spread the word and help choose home when care is needed.